Few missions matter more than helping people live healthier, happier, and longer lives. But turning that mission into reality at scale is one of the greatest challenges of our time. In this podcast, I speak with the people who are taking that challenge head on. Health entrepreneurs who have dedicated their personal and professional lives to creating maximal impact, the true Impact Junkies. My name is Daniel. Join me as we walk through their stories behind the mission, the wins, the losses, the ups, and the downs, with the hope of inspiring many more people to join the mission and the health revolution. Today's guest is Meredith Hutson from Get Fit with Mer, a person who truly shows that saying yes to yourself can have an immense impact on your own life and that of thousands of others. Welcome to Impact Junkies. Meredith, welcome.
Hello.
Great to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
You brought the energy. You brought the Texas heat. Like you spoke about.
And it's hot, baby.
That is hot.
Even though it's so cold here, though.
That's it, but you bring it. I mean, you always show up with so much energy and passion and drive. I'm just curious to start with, well, where does all that come from?
Honestly, I think it's just because I grew up in such a small town that everyone kind of just had like a bigger personality. Like no one kind of stayed really, to themselves. Everyone was like very like connective. So probably from that. Like my class only had 38 students in it. So maybe.
Is that few relatively?
That's like tiny. This is like tiny class because most of the time it's like multiple, like hundreds of people. But yeah, little tiny class.
And one other thing that's quite special about you is, your passion, I would say, for helping other people. Beyond your business, Get Fit with Mer, which we'll get into the whole backstory of. Could you just help me just paint a bit of a picture of all the other things that you do to influence others' lives? Because that's quite amazing.
Yeah, well, I am an influencer, you would call it. Of course, own my, Get Fit with Mer business. I do podcasts and even done a few of like speaking events. So just through that, but I guess, are you talking about my why as to why I do it?
Yeah, please. Let's get into that.
Let's start there. Well, a big part of my why is because I struggled with, obesity for almost 2 decades. So I've always struggled with my weight and decided to kind of change that one day. And I lost 120 pounds. So it's a big part of my story and my why.
Big part of your story and a big part of the, let's say, inspiration that you give others. And we'll get a lot more into that. But first, I have some numbers, which I'd like to share with you. Because I think, really to try to paint a picture of, well, what does that impact and inspiration actually look like? Because it can be hard to zoom out on and actually see at scale. So in the 4 years that I have data on, at least, you've helped over or just around 6,000 women change their lives for the better. And I think there's one important aspect to focus on here is the point of working at scale, but not compromising quality. Because there's client surveys on every client, and you have an NPS score of 9.2. Which is extremely high. So when you couple 6,000 lives changed with an NPS of 9.2, that's just amazing. Your clients have lost just around 13.5 tons of weight in pounds. That's around 30,000 pounds combined. And you and your team have sent 749,401 text, video, and audio messages.
Stop, that's crazy.
Which is tracked until yesterday. What do you think when you hear these numbers?
That's crazy. It is really crazy because when I first became a coach, I didn't even think I was going to be working with more than like 5 people. And I just think it's insane what can come from just saying yes to something and just not immediately saying no and like closing the door on yourself, just taking that risk and just saying, what's the worst that can happen? And so hearing something like that, it's crazy because there's a lot of work that goes into that. It's a lot of sweat and tears, but you got to really believe in yourself and you have to bet on yourself. And your why, just like what we tell our clients all the time, is so important. But your why for your business is the only thing that keeps you going. You got to keep digging deep because you're going to have days where you question yourself. You're going to question, especially with the ups and downs with business, because when you hear those numbers, you don't really think about, oh, that's just a steady growth. That's not true. you're going to have like some months where you're knocked down and some months you're growing. And so you just have to keep on going back to that why and remembering, obviously, like, why is it that you're doing this? And just remembering you are making an impact. Because I also think you can kind of forget. You go through the motions and you're just like, okay, exactly. Am I making a difference? Am I not? Especially if you have one client that has one bad experience, it makes you forget the thousands of people who have, Exactly. So.
And I think 6,000 clients with that many positive experiences, it shows what that grit and determination actually can lead to.
Yeah.
But I think for us to understand, what actually led to that impact, let's just trace it back for a second and talk about young Meredith. Your background. You mentioned you came from a small town. Talk to me a bit more about that.
Yeah, I grew up in a tiny town. I played every single sport. But I definitely have felt like I've struggled with something constantly, meaning my very first struggle was pretty much from when I was born until I was about, I don't even know, I guess still even now. I couldn't talk until I was 5. So that was my first like obstacle to where I first felt like misunderstood because literally no one could understand me.
So you couldn't like pronounce
I
words?
could not pronounce words. Like my older brother, he had to teach me how to ride a bike, how to tie my shoes, how to do everything. And so like not being able to communicate for a big part of my younger years, because that was pretty much almost all of elementary. I kind of struggled with that. It hindered relationships. Of course, I got picked on for it for a big part of my life. And then it interfered with my like learning capabilities. Like when you can't speak, you can't sound things out. So you struggle with reading, spelling, writing. And so that was my first struggle, but it was definitely one of the biggest things that kind of taught me to just never give up. And I think it plays a bigger role in who I am today than I realized. And now that I'm kind of thinking about it, I'm like, dang, if I really piece it together, it's like that was such a huge obstacle. So I am dyslexic. So I struggle with dyslexia on top of that. And then I started battling with my weight when I was 8. So a lot of challenges, a lot of things that would strip you from confidence or putting yourself out there.
So did it affect your confidence at that age? Because 5 is such an interesting time because I think most people don't remember when they started to speak. Their parents do, right? When you said your first words, when you started to string sentences together. And that's usually not in most people's memory. You actually have a vivid memory of when it actually was possible and the frustrations that led to that.
Yeah.
Well, how did that actually affect? It's also a time where your self-image becomes a bit more apparent. You start putting yourself in relation to the rest of the world around you.
Yes.
So how did that affect you?
Okay, so what was really weird is that everything pretty much would normally make someone feel like super, uncomfortable and not confident. It was like I would never allow myself to fully feel that way. So it was kind of weird. I remember looking at myself in the mirror and being like, obviously, I'm picked on for my body. I'm picked on for my speech. I'm picked on for this and that. But it was like I wouldn't or I couldn't really accept what people would say about me. So sometimes I would look in the mirror and be like, wait, am I like, should I be ashamed of who I am? Or am I, am I beautiful? I remember this one moment, like to a T. I can like even visualize what was like kind of on my bathroom counter and everything. And I'm looking at myself, and this is when I was, I think, like 8, 9 years old. And I looked at myself and I said, am I beautiful? And I remember my initial thought was yes. So even though I had everyone against me saying no, it was like I wouldn't accept that. And so I battled with confidence just like everyone has, like up and down. But like for the most part, I don't think I really truly know what like being really uncomfortable to the point where you stop being yourself really actually feels like. I can't relate to that.
Because somehow you had some level of self-confidence or self-belief to overcome that. It seems also, you just mentioned with a bit of support from your brother, it seems like he played quite a large role in your childhood and further on. So explain to me a bit about that relationship.
Yeah, so me and my brother, we weirdly actually did not get along for a huge part of childhood, but I think it's because we got each other so much. We both started struggling with our weight at the same time. So both when we were in elementary school, and struggled with our weight all the way until, our mid-20s. And so my brother was obviously someone that helped me so much, through my learning disabilities and speech and everything. It was kind of like my guy. But then when we got to where we're fighting about the TV remote and everything, that's where we start butting heads. But in our mid-20s, he decided to start his weight loss journey, and he was actually doing it. He stuck to it for 6 months at the time, and he had lost a lot of weight, and he was working out and he was eating healthy. He wasn't following any diet, and he was the first person that, amazed me at the fact of like, wow, this guy has struggled with binge eating. This guy has struggled with his relationship with food, eating healthy. He never works out. And we were kind of on the same page there. So it was like, because he didn't, it made me feel better that I didn't. But since he started doing it, it inspired me, but it also scared me to be kind of left behind. Like, I didn't want to be the only one. Like, we always had each other in that sense. And my little brother, he's bald, but, he's always been the fit one, right? He's always been the one that's like never struggled with his weight. And so I didn't want to basically be left behind and have two fit brothers and then me.
So it seems like that's like a pivotal moment there, a change in your brother and then your own change. Just to backtrack a little bit, explain to me a bit about the ups and downs or the challenges with your weight or body between 8 and that period, and what the change looked like.
Well, I feel like I'm like that typical story. Usually if you've, grown up overweight, you've tried everything, but everything besides understanding what you should do. And that ultimately, of course, is what actually worked. But I did all the fad diets, everything that Aunt Linda was doing, or the lady across the street, your neighbor, or your mom's best friends. Like, I did Advocare and Weight Watchers, like every single diet you can think of. I even did the HCG weight loss shots, which is where you give yourself a shot in the stomach and every morning. And I'm in high school doing this, and you cannot eat more than 500 calories a day.
That's extremely restrictive.
Yeah. I was also playing basketball, and I was very, very active. And I did that diet. That was actually the very last diet I've ever done. But everything before that was just like your typical, I would restrict, not eat very much. I would skip lunch, or I would, do some kind of weird fiber drink cleanse or whatever. And I never could stick to it. I would lose like 10, 12 pounds, and that's it. But the HCG diet was my last one.
Your last one.
And it wrecked me.
I'm just curious about it. You just mentioned before that there's kind of not a typical story, but a common story in that trying all sorts of extreme measures and 500 calories and that. Yeah. Looking back at that now, both for yourself, but also the large amount of people who potentially still are going through those types of attempts. What do you think about that these days?
I mean, I feel like we all, it's almost like we always have to try it before we can kind of accept that you have to make the real change. And so I think it was necessary for my growth to endure checking off every box before finally checking off the big box of saying, hey, you have to make an actual change yourself. Like with your nutrition, like you need to learn this, and working out, you need to commit to this. Everything I ever did was pretty much just like this short temporary thing that's like, once I lose the weight, I just have to do whatever I can to lose it, get it off my body. And then from there, I can go back to exactly how I was living. And I know that when you say that out loud, like that sounds so stupid and it doesn't make sense. But when you're actually living that reality, most of the time you really are just not educated at all about your body. You're not educated at all in the sense of like your nutrition. So I understand clients to that standpoint of living in that quick results. It's not just that you lack patience. The biggest thing is that you lack understanding. And so I'm a huge freak about education for my clients, because the more that I can ensure that that person knows what's going on in their body and why it's important, that's the ultimate piece that keeps them locked in, that keeps them moving forward. Because once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. And so knowledge is power. And knowledge was essentially the biggest reason why I struggled with my weight and why nothing worked and why I kept falling into these things of like refusing to change. I think there's a lot of like a lack of commitment there, but mainly like a lack of knowledge.
Knowledge and having the toolbox to actually create change.
Yes.
Amazing. So you said it was time to check the big box.
Yeah.
And create it. What did that look like practically?
Oh, gosh. A lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And my mom used to say that to me all the time, which is so funny because fad diets and stuff to her were a lifestyle change. But hey, she still had the same verbiage. You know, she had the verbiage. You know, she's always struggled with her weight too. So it was kind of like we're two peas in the pod trying to figure out this whole thing too. But I mean, really, it was a lifestyle change to me was kind of just not putting a timeline, not trying to lose weight as quickly as possible, like really doing something that I can actually stick to forever, allowing myself to learn, like to give myself the patience and to figure it out. Like, honestly, on myself, I didn't listen to anyone's opinions, like their advice. I basically learned from podcasts, reading books. I even read like anatomy books that break down your muscles and what exercises like you can do to target those muscles. And so I just consumed myself. So for me, a lifestyle change was, again, keeping something sustainable and realistic, but most importantly, understanding the why of why I'm doing it. So it can stick.
And what was the effect then on that?
The effect? Yeah. Well, I lost 120 pounds.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I lost 120 pounds. I went from almost 60% body fat to 14% body fat.
Whoa, that's a drop.
Yeah.
But 14 is also extremely low.
Way low. And I didn't know that. I mean, there's a lot that goes behind that, but I got body scans done from the day I started or around the beginning of my journey to, of course, when I ended it. And when I got to like 18% body fat, it was super lean, but I still had like a little bit of a gut. And the guy that was doing my body compositions, I love him. His name's Justin. He looks like The Rock. He was like, well, you know, some women, and this isn't not true, but in my situation, we'll get to it. But he said that sometimes you have to get extremely lean to lose that last stubborn body fat. If you're trying to get to where you have no body fat in your stomach, then you need to get really lean. So he said, try to shoot for that, 15, 16% body fat. And when I got there, I was like, I still got something. And then I got to 14 and I lost my period. Yeah. And I looked sunken in, like my eyes, I looked probably like 15 years older. And although it was healthy, it was just like I had 23 pounds of body fat on my entire body. And I'm almost 5'8". So that was insane. But my weight loss journey, I gained 7 pounds. So I lost 120 pounds of body fat and then gained 7 pounds of muscle mass from going from 256 all the way down to...
Well done. So you were gaining strength as well. So that means that you also, when I hear you talk about reading the anatomy book, strength training was a huge component in this, which was pretty different from the other diets and that approach, right? So is this also where strength training and that approach came in? Oh,
yeah. I started strength training day one of my journey. I didn't do any cardio. Honestly, my step count was probably pretty low because I was a hairstylist, which requires a lot of standing, but not a whole lot of walking, which, yes, walking is super important. But I just didn't prioritize it. I was weight training 6 days a week and I was lifting heavy. Like I wasn't in there doing any sissy lifting. I was lifting heavy. Okay, a bestie was busting a sweat. Okay, and like making some ugly faces. But I just like enjoyed that, and it was definitely the first thing that I grew consistent in because I did enjoy working out in that way. But coming from a place of like almost 18 years of trying to lose weight and being told you have to run like miles on miles, lifting was not a thing that you did if you're a big girl. It's going to make you bigger, was what I was told. So I think I could commit to lifting weights and really lock in and enjoy it because it was kind of something that was frowned upon for a very long time.
So falling in love with that process in a time where I guess the narrative was eat restrictive, do a lot of cardio, and that's kind of
and it was the polar opposite. Yeah. Like I ate a lot. Like a lot of times I had to force myself to finish my food. And, I was eating over like 2,000 calories in my deficit. And that's very different than the 1,200 I was recommended by multiple doctors most of my life. Lifting super heavy. I ate and trained like a man is what I told everyone when I was in the midst of doing it. Now it's very different. Women train that way now too.
Yes, exactly.
But you didn't hear that often. Like This was back in 2019, and although it doesn't seem like that long ago,
a lot has changed.
A
in that
lot
time,
has changed.
I would say
because of us Lenus coaches.
Yeah, there you go. Impact.
Impact.
So I'm just curious about one thing you measured was, getting the body scans all the way through that journey. It seems like it's something you did for a long time, but potentially also having a very clear, number in mind. I have to get to this percentage, right? Is that, and potentially also going a bit overboard with it. If you get to a point where you lose your period and these types of things, we're beyond what healthy looks like.
Yes.
But that whole dynamic of having, a specific number that you're going for and not necessarily seeing that, it's not positive anymore. Is that something you could recognize in others and the work that you do?
Yeah, and I think it was another big piece of my story that I'm glad I experienced, because I see it in people almost in every case, in a sense of, unless they've learned the lesson already, but people get addicted to the number or on the scale or their body fat percentage on their body scans or a pant size that they're trying to shoot for. Like, we all get to this place that's like, if I get here, this is where I'll finally be super happy and super confident. And it's just not true. I was actually the most insecure in my entire life when I reached that 136-pound, lean version of myself sitting at 14% body fat, because I learned the hard truth. It doesn't really matter what my body looks like. That's not going to change my confidence or anything. It comes down to true health, and true health isn't about a true size. Like, are you healthy? Can you run and feel good and do you have energy from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed? Like, does your brain work for you? Can you speak without having brain fog? Like, are you in a good mood? Are you not constantly on edge or irritable? Like, true health is being happy and energized and full of just life. That's what healthy looks like to me. So I'm not 136 pounds anymore. I'm sitting at 20% body fat, which is much healthier now, and pretty good amount of muscle mass. Okay. And I'm healthy and happy, and I'm closer to 170 now. So it just, at the end of the day, I see it all the time with clients, and it is I probably talk to at least 10 people a day, I would say, about that same lesson.
Yeah. And it's also balance between, I guess, external motivation and internal. The external can be that number, the size pant or whatever.
Yeah.
But internal is falling in love with the process. Mm-hmm. Strength training was yours, for example.
Yeah.
Interesting shift. But you mentioned also that you were a hairstylist in that time, right? So talk to me about that.
Oh, doing hair. My goodness. I loved it. That's another piece of my story. I feel like everything in my life honestly set me up to be a coach, because that's where I got to work with, obviously, so many women in a different way, right? I was able to connect with people's major customer service, but be there for them. Because hairstylists are kind of like therapists, to be honest, especially when you put a hairstylist in a private room. That's where people would really vent out things that they're going through and everything. So, I loved doing hair. But my experience with hair was very difficult for me when I was at my heaviest. It was kind of something, doing hair was actually one of the big things that kind of made me realize I was actually genuinely unhealthy.
How so?
Because my work days went from being able to work 5 days a week for 8 hours at a time, and then quickly, as years went by, it was now I'm working 4 days a week, 6 hours a day. And it was becoming less and less and less. And when I was 24 years old and sitting at 256 pounds, 60% body fat, severely, severely unhealthy. I had so many health issues that I could barely work 2-3 days a week. I could not work longer than 6 hours at a time. And doing hair, that's 2 clients.
Yeah, that's nothing.
That's
so
nothing.
Even struggling to actually make a living of what you've chosen to do, but due to your health.
I had to turn down clients, and I would tell them, I'm booked for the week. And it was really just because I physically could not work more than a part-time job. If you think about it, that's really sad for a 24-year-old. Yeah.
How did you reflect on that in that time? I mean, it's a tricky situation to have to basically lie about it and compromise your own living, but it's out of necessity because you couldn't do anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely made me turn inward a lot because I kept having all these health issues and I was having rashes. I was sick all the time, like constantly throwing up. And I had a headache every day for almost 10 years.
Oh, boy.
Every day. And I had horrible neck pain, body aches. I thought something was wrong with me. Like I have something off with me, which I did have health issues. Like I was hyperthyroidism. I was insulin resistant. I think I was pre-diabetic. Never was diagnosed, but I had all these like health issues. And so, but I always thought there's something deeper like wrong with me. Like, do I have cancer? Is there something like that's making me feel this way? And so I spent a lot of money getting tests done. I mean, I got chest x-rays done. Really weird. I didn't even know how to explain why I even got a chest x-ray done, but I got a chest x-ray done. Yeah. Lots of blood work. Got a colonoscopy done. I know. I mean.
Top to toe. Check it all.
Yes. Basically to find out there's nothing wrong with me. It's what you're eating. It's because you're not moving. It's because you're actually genuinely like unhealthy.
Right.
And again, when you're in that mindset, you are just in denial, especially when you've been in a larger body and overweight for most of your life and felt okay. When you start actually becoming unhealthy and not feeling okay, it is hard for your mind to wrap around the fact it's because of your own doing. It is what you're eating. It is how you're treating your body. And so, yeah, it pushed me. My not being able to do hair and do all these things and realizing I'm in my younger 20s was a massive reason why I started my journey. It was the reason.
The driver of change.
Yes.
Can I ask you, so you loved being a hairstylist. Was that like what you wanted to do? Was that what you always wanted to do or
No.
stay doing?
I was so burnt out. After my second year of doing hair, I was like, I just don't want to keep this going. And I thought at the time I was going to do it forever. I didn't see myself. I was not someone that would change up, like change careers, take risk. I was immediately like a no person. So the fact that I said yes to Lenus, we can get into, which is crazy, but being a coach. But yeah.
That was it. So at the same time, so you decided to make this change, and I guess you're also starting to post on social media about your change, right? Tell me about that momentum.
Yeah, so I first started posting about my journey when I was 40 pounds down on TikTok. And that was really, honestly, super scary for me because I just thought, I'm 40 pounds down, which was a massive accomplishment for me. But anyways, it ended up being a massive thing for a lot of people. They were like, oh, wow, this girl's doing it. So my social media grew a lot, and I kind of just posted just because it was fun. But then when I started getting to a place to where I was struggling with working and doing hair, that's kind of when I started pouring more into it in hopes that it would lead me to something, I guess.
So you hadn't, so you were down on hours with the hairdressing. You had time for a bit more social media.
Yes, yeah.
Did you have an idea that it could lead to something more at that time?
No, not at all.
What was driving you then?
I don't know. There was just like something in my heart kept making me feel like there's something bigger for me. And I felt that way for a long time. I felt that way before I even started my journey. And I remember it made me cry a lot. Like I feel something in my like soul that I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like I can feel it. It's just like knocking at me, but I don't know what it is. And if you think about that, there's so many people that feel that way where they're in this place of like, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I feel almost a sense of discomfort because I feel like I'm living a life that isn't really what I'm meant to be doing. And so I was in that season for years, and you kind of just have to go day by day and hoping that one day you'll figure it out. And so when I posted on social media and people were asking me questions and doing things like that, I'm like, this is, filling my cup in a huge way. But I never thought about like actually being an online coach. I didn't even know online coaches were a thing.
No. So you were just having interactions with people and they were inspired.
I mean, that in itself was feeling to me. Like, I'm like, I'm like actually helping women who are like me on social media, although I'm not coaching them or anything. It's like, I'm giving advice or I'm motivating them or I'm inspiring them. And that for me at the time was enough until obviously the big opportunity came.
So tell me about that beginning there.
So when I was on Instagram just doing my thing, I got a DM and I would check my DMs like all the time. And I had a message come in from my now key account manager. And she said, "Are you an online coach?" And I thought it was just a bestie, looking for advice and stuff. So I said, "No, but I've always wanted to," not even really knowing what online coaching is.
So it wasn't in you hadn't like explored that area, didn't know what they were doing?
No,
Interesting.
none.
Interesting.
I mean, I saw coach and obviously I'm like, yeah, I would love to do that. But I don't even know what online coaching like really entails or anything. So, but I had a few friends that I coached in person who have seen results and everything like that. So I had coached people, but online coaching, no, I never even like really thought too much about at the time. And so she replied back saying, "Well, I actually can help you with that. Would you be willing to get on a meeting with me?" And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I have no idea what this is going to look like, but yeah. And we jumped on a meeting, I think that next day, and it was incredible. And then in 2 days, we launched my program.
Wow.
It was insane.
That is quick, but we need to just linger on this for a second because going from, let's say, I guess, playing it a bit safe, right, with what you do and not thinking that you're going to make any rash decisions, to having a meeting, first of all, taking the meeting, I think, and then launching so quick. Unpack that a little bit for me, because was there doubt in that process, or what did that look like for you?
A ton. I mean, not from me, but yeah, when I took the meeting, I was already kind of like, this is going to be scary because, I mean, as a hairstylist, you don't get on business meetings. I'm pretty sure I had to like download Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. I mean, I've never even probably taken one before, to be honest. We didn't do that in hair school, okay? Oh. So anyways, getting on that, I was already super nervous, but I'm like, this sounds incredible. Like, this should be, great. And when she was going through everything, my first initial thought was, this is a massive scam, but I am worth being scammed because this sounds so good. Like, if it's not a scam, this is going to be incredible. So after the meeting, I was telling my friends and my husband and my parents, and everyone was like, "Nah, there's no way that's true. Like that's like a golden nugget. How's that just handed to you like that?" Essentially. So they told me not to, and I ended up going that night, messaging my key account manager and telling her, "Let's go for it. Let's do it."
I think that's so interesting because I think in those moments, doubt comes from many places.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's from external, like you mentioned, people saying either that the opportunity is too good to be true, or just doubting the actual person, right? Saying, and I'm not sure that you can actually do that.
Yeah.
But is that something that you hear a lot or people experience?
Oh, yeah. I feel like doubt is something that we all struggle with, like in so many different ways. I mean, doubting yourself or doubting like your capabilities or what's possible for you. I think it's like one of the biggest struggles like our clients face. I see it with coaches. I've obviously experienced doubt multiple times in my life for multiple different reasons and so forth. But I think my weight loss journey is the biggest testimony of doubt, right? And so I doubted myself for so long until I proved to myself, oh, I was always capable of this. This was always possible for me. And so when it came to this moment of feeling that doubt again of like, this isn't possible. Like, if this is true and you can have your own program, like no one's going to like actually be, a client of yours. Like this is going to be something that doesn't work out. I just knew in that moment, I need to listen to this feeling that's telling me to say yes and go for it and listen more to that instead of this like doubt that's like taking over, convincing me that I can't do this. But yeah, it was the best decision I ever made.
You took the leap.
Yeah.
And what just to give me a benchmark of it, what did you think was going to happen?
What did I think was going to happen? That I really thought that I was only going to get like 5 clients. Right. And that was not the case.
Talk to me about what that's. I mean, because you've signed, you've launched within the space of of 2 days, from a Wednesday to a Friday.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
One, if I'm being completely honest, I didn't even know this the software that well, but and I've never done a sales call in my life, but we were anticipating the launch to be kind of small when we first did it. And so when we launched it, I only launched on Instagram, and I had like 5,000 followers. I didn't like have a whole lot of followers or anything like that. And it blasted. I'm talking about, we had like thousands of leads coming in, or hundreds or whatever, like so many leads coming in. And so at the time I was doing my own calls because I'm a new coachee, and I'm calling. My dad is coaching me through calls because he's a salesman.
So getting the whole family involved in your launch.
It was so chaotic. But that first day, I definitely beat 5 clients. In my first month, I think I had my first 150 clients.
Within a month, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if you got those numbers, but you don't.
I don't have them in front of me, but I remember the jumps. I can find them afterwards. But it was a staggering amount of leads, and you managed to secure the first 100 at least within the first month, and then it kept growing from there, basically.
Yeah.
So quite a steep climb, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I had to get my first assistant coach, I think a month in to when I launched my program, and I was working with 250 clients at the time. It was chaos, but it was incredible because I got to really connect with these women on the phone. I think I only did it for a week. And then, of course, the iconic inbound sales helped me out there. But building these plans and coaching people online for the very first time was so surreal. I was getting probably 4 hours of sleep, but the high you get when you're helping someone and you're coaching someone and you have this business that you did not think was actually going to be a real and raw business, and the impact that you're making immediately with people was insane. So although I was getting 4 hours of sleep probably for a whole year, my first year, and I only had 3-4 days off that entire year, it was worth it. And it was one of the best years of my entire life, to be honest.
That's amazing within such a short time, because if you think about it, you're going down in hours, struggling a bit as a hairdresser.
Yeah.
You get an opportunity to okay, maybe I'll get 5 clients. Already a month later, you're running a pretty big business.
Yeah.
I mean, your life has basically changed at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you reflect on that? Or did you even have time to? Was it only after the first year? I mean, because it's quite a shift, right? Suddenly you're doing all sorts of things that weren't within the scope of what was possible for you before. I'm curious about that.
Oh, it was insane. I was crazy happy, but my dad was freaking out. He was literally looking at the Stripe things that were coming in, and I mean, he's
the payments.
Yeah, he was he goes, "Honey, you made more this week than you've made in your best month as a hairstylist."
In 1 week.
And he was freaking out, and me, I think I was too busy to really digest it, but I was just I'm living in a dream right now. I cannot believe this is happening. And I don't even know how to explain it. It's just such a insane feeling to live in something that you're so passionate with, and that you're doing something that you never thought that you could do. And then obviously financially, that completely changing the dynamics for my family and myself was wild.
Talk to me about that. What did that shift look like?
A big shift. Me and my husband struggled really bad financially, especially because I could not work that much. I mean, I started working a little bit more, obviously, when I got, healthy. I was working more, but then I became a coach immediately. Mm-hmm. But anyways, we struggled really bad. He was an EMT at the time. Now he's a paramedic. And so we both had jobs that just did not make a whole lot of money. And so the house that we lived in did not have an AC, or an AC in Texas is insane.
Which is critical.
I need you to wrap your mind around that. 90 degrees. My house had no insulation either. And so it was brutal. You were sweating 24/7. We also did not have a heater. So when it was cold, you would spend majority of the weather in a 20 to 30 degree house. So, and it was an older home, so you couldn't have more than like one space heater on. So it was brutal. When it would rain, we would have like 5 trash cans in so many different areas because the roof needed to be done. Yeah, we had holes in the like actual ceiling from like water leaks, and it was brutal. But you know what? I'm really, really, really happy. That's kind of how we started our marriage. And like we lived in like that condition for 4 years because it taught me that I really don't have to have a lot to be happy, for one, and that I can survive that, because it was rough. Like you're in a place where you can barely afford to like feed yourself. And obviously when I was going through my weight loss journey, I could not afford a coach or any additional help. And so you just like learn to get creative. I still catch myself doing stuff that's like, oh, that's Meredith creative.
That's from way back. We don't need to do this stuff anymore. No more buckets.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was life-changing from a point of view for my family. But I think from money aside, seeing my husband seeing me kind of go after this and how, drastic it changed my life, it made him like kind of say, oh my gosh, I want to, keep moving forward. So he actually became a paramedic, and now he's like the educator for his like station and lieutenant. And it's just been really, really incredible.
Inspiration compiles. I mean, I think that's with what you do, you kind of are right at the intersect in this sweet spot between, let's say, scalability, so you can scale your impact. The things that you said filled your cup just in the DMs. Now you're in it, right?
Yes.
Creating real change.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, profitability, it makes sense as a business. You can change not only clients' lives, but your own life at the same time, right? An actual change on all parts. I think that's quite amazing.
It's insane.
So that's a pretty hectic first year that we're into. Talk about that, because the momentum keeps building after that, right? I mean, you're still growing. You're a year in. You've had 4 days off. What does life look like for you at that time? Walk me through it.
Life is very different. When you're growing so much from a business standpoint, there's a lot of things that kind of change as well, and like your life. I kind of lost a lot of friends during that time. I'm not going to lie, because I became like a lot busier, and obviously that's not as convenient for some of your friendships. And then the whole growth of owning your business too, you kind of start noticing some things even in your friend group of people not really, supporting you, or finding like a little bit of like weirdness seeing you in that lighting. I even had someone say, can you believe that Meredith, out of all of us, has like this business and things are going? So like there's a lot of things that you have to readjust to. And I know a lot of coaches relate to this, because I've talked to a lot of coaches about this, to be honest, with Lenus, that you're going to have a lot of shedding to do from your old life whenever you step into this like new life and line of business, especially when you're growing so rapidly and you have a team to take care of. Like it kind of changes like your dynamic. But it's the same thing if you have a baby. You step into a different like chapter and your friend group changes. And so there's a lot of shedding that happens, but it only helps you step more into like growing more as like an individual. Because I talk about this a lot with my key account manager. The person that I was when she first started working with me to who I am today are 2 different people. It's insane. It's really a little scary.
Grown as a person. I mean, there's a lot of experience that lies behind that. Talk to me about some of those experiences as a coach and a business owner, because suddenly now, from being, doing everything by yourself and relatively quickly building a team, right? How did you manage, still being involved, but outsourcing things at the same time? That can be a bit of a trouble or a challenge for people to navigate. How did you experience that?
I would say the first like 2 years was figuring that out, because sometimes you are scared to ask for help. And that's what I love so much about Lenus, is that y'all are always like kind of pushing your coaches like, hey, like ask us for help. But I don't know why, but I was so scared or not scared. I was so resistant to like asking for help of like, how do you do this? So I kind of just like sat down and would analyze like, a couple months of being like, okay, if let's just say my team wasn't as responsive on messages, or if our I don't know, clients were canceling earlier than norm or whatever. I just like analyzed the analytics, I guess you would say, of business.
Data,
yeah, the data of everything. And that in itself is what helped me build the actual structure. Now I have like an entire like empire, if you will, of like notions, sheets, like notions in me, besties, where I run my entire business, my entire team on. But the transition of the business being yours and you're the only coach to hiring and then like training all your coaches into kind of like to fit the brand, if you will, and your style of coaching. Because there's a lot of different like styles of coaching was very difficult. And there's a lot of lessons learned. But I also probably wasn't the best leader when I first, stepped into that. Like there was a lot that I had to learn. I'd never had to host meetings for a team before or interview people or have payroll or
all of that. Remember, you logged on your first Zoom meeting or Google Meet.
Yes.
Just before you became an online coach. So it's a very different premise.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a lot.
And managing people as well. So how about involvement with clients at that time and managing to, because now you have so much more to navigate, a team, a large operation, the Notion page is starting to build up. But actually, did you still stay connected with or engaged with clients? And did you also manage to, let's say, keep the passion for what you're doing there?
Yes.
Talk to me a bit about those ups and downs.
Yeah, so there's been different kind of structures that I've put into place throughout the years. And, of course, when I first started, before hiring anyone or when I first hired my first couple people, I had so many one-on-one clients myself. And so at the time, I was really focusing on that 250 clients that I was personally working with and managing the team and so forth. But it's changed over the years where now, and what I've been doing for a while, is where I do work actually with every single client in my program. And I'm more of the mentor, educator, like if you need anything or we want to talk about structures or there's like someone that's maybe like stuck in this place where they've been battling with the same thing with binge eating or maybe they've been struggling with support at home. Like I'm kind of that person that when someone has like a real and raw like problem that they're struggling with or they are wanting to learn more about it, like something that's going on within their body. I have a lot of people who have like PCOS, people who are trying to learn about their cycle, help balance their hormones, or someone that's like dealing with like an autoimmune or inflammation in the body. So anyways, there's a lot of things that like I kind of go in and we have more in-depth coaching, but I do that for all of my clients.
So it sounds also like a bit of a process in figuring out where do you dedicate your time and something that actually still fuels you. Because I think that can be a challenging thing. As a bit, you can easily spread out your time and efforts on doing a bit of everything. You kind of seems like you're zoomed in a bit more on back to what fills your cup.
Yes.
Like how did you get to there? Or which experiences did you have to go through to realize that?
Yeah. At one point when I had the most amount of clients in my program, I was struggling with the balance of it all. And I was focusing on my team, ensuring that my coaches were really equipped and, doing their job. And when you're dealing with like, a lot of clients, it's like there's a lot of things you just have to make sure that business is running. And so naturally, when I was in that stage, I was kind of pulled away from doing what I love most. And that's working with all clients, And so I just found myself at this place where I was like really, really struggling internally. And I was like battling it. And you can even see in my pictures when you look back, like I was really inflamed. Like you can just tell I looked different and that happiness was kind of fading away. And I had a meeting with Christian. And I will never forget this. He was telling me about his own personal journey of just being like having to kind of zoom back, sit with his thoughts and be like, what is my like why as to why I do this? Like, what is it that I enjoy the most about being in this business? And he told me that he really loves working with coaches and being a part of their lives and really helping them. And that shows because the way that he's like really showed up for me and so many coaches, it's been incredible. And so after that meeting, I really did the same thing. I stepped back and I said, what do I find the most joy in? And it's working with clients. And so I changed it, literally the entire structure of my business within like 24 hours after that meeting. And I started doing things differently. And since then, my joy is back and everything about this job is like now alive again, right? And naturally, it pulls you back from some things, like maybe I'm not as active on social media, which is still obviously very important. But there's just certain things, like I started offloading some jobs, like my emails or whatever, and I started hiring out and giving it to assistant coaches because trust me, assistant coaches love additional jobs outside of just their clients. And I restructured my head coaches and everything. So I just had the same team, but I redid the structure that worked more in my favor, that helped me live in my purpose.
Makes sense.
And it's been awesome.
Being able to focus on what actually drove you, your why, and having an impact, right? Mm-hmm. Speaking about focus, I mean, and sometimes, it can be tricky as a health entrepreneur to focus on the right things and also with the right level of granularity, which also can, like how far in or out you're zoomed in. Sometimes focusing on the small numbers every time, like how many leads, how many, what are these numbers and those numbers, that can actually also drain that motivation. It's very different from the client interactions and that impact that you can have. Yeah. Do you have that similar experience?
I love that you bring that up because that was what I was chasing. I was chasing X amount of leads a day, X amount of new clients I'm getting a month, like X amount of even money that I was making. And everything I was focusing on was a growth mindset. And when you're in business, people almost make you feel like your worth is determined based off of that. They make you think the amount of maybe people who are in your program or the amount of money that you're making is ultimately what makes your worth as a business, I guess, more I don't know, the best. I don't know if that makes sense, but so you kind of start living in that mentality of I have to be this in order to be proud. And I see a lot of people slip into it. I slipped into it, and it was making me feel like, month after month that I wasn't enough if I wasn't reaching new numbers or growing in my business or, seeing this upscale in my business. And so now after learning at the most amount of clients that I've ever had in my business that what I was shooting for was unhealthy. It's a different form of health, right? We prioritize our physical health so much, but when you're in business, you really gotta practice your mental health too. And I think that's a huge thing for us Lenus coaches. Physically, we're challenged to keep pushing. It's a big part of our role, our image and everything. And obviously for our health, we enjoy it too. But when you're so busy and you're growing a business, it's so easy to fall into really not prioritizing your mental health, or whether that be your stress, or whether that be your focus or your drive or your passions or whatever. And I slipped into, again, a very unhealthy state of mind of saying my business is only as good as the amount of growth that I have. And so I changed what I focused on. Instead of chasing those numbers, I chased different numbers, which were the client satisfaction score, survey score, the lifetime, which I think I am close to, and was 12 months.
Getting up to, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I first started prioritizing, it was 4 months, so you see that shift there. And so I just prioritized those numbers, and was what I was doing for the people who were in my business, let that be what I shoot for and really have a goal to do, make them happy and let that be what essentially makes me happy. And it did.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's about keeping yourself happy, but it's also focusing on the impacts that actually, or the metrics that actually create most change out there. Because going back to the start, an NPS score of 9.2, a lifetime of almost a year, right? That's a good product, right? You deliver something of immense value. It's worth it for people to stay there for so long. And the market doesn't lie, right? If it wasn't good, they wouldn't be there.
Yeah. No one's going to invest in your program spending, X amount of money per month for a year if they didn't love it or if they felt like just a number.
Exactly.
And so you see how the goal changed. And like, I felt like there was a lot of clients probably, I wouldn't say it felt like just a number, but in a sense, when I was chasing the wrong numbers, maybe they can feel that energy from me of like, I'm trying to grow this business. And so it is crazy knowing the difference of my lifetime was this. And I don't think my survey score was ever, like my client satisfaction score was ever under a 9, but still like lifetime to me is the biggest deal, because I can't help someone lose 100 pounds in 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. I can't help anyone even make even close of like healthy habits that truly stick for 4 months. So like if my whole purpose is to make a true change in someone's life, I have to at least coach them for a year. Like I'm a firm believer on that. So that was my biggest goal, was to get to where we had a lifetime that was representing that.
Amazing. And which impact does that have on you now, right? So looking at you before you made this change and where you're at now, because you mentioned mental well-being, you mentioned satisfaction with work. Like talk to me about where you're at right now with this. Oh,
I'm just so much happier. I just feel like I just have a much more like clear vision. Every time someone asks me, you know, because you get asked this a lot when you're in business, like, what's the next goal? Like, what's the next step? I'm like, this might sound bad, but for the first time, I'm really, really, really just happy where I'm at. Like, I don't know if I really have a goal in mind to just grow more and more. If it happens, amazing. But like, I'm so happy with where my business is at and the way that we have the structure and the design. I love my team. I love from the Lenus side, from my like business side. I just love everything about it that I'm just like, I'm so content. I'm so happy.
Is it because you feel you're focusing on the right things?
Yes. Yeah. And I think when you're focusing on the right things, it really doesn't matter if you are having an up or if you're having a down, because essentially that's the name of the game. You know, like we can't realistically always shoot and say, I'm going to be a coach that grows every single year. You're setting yourself up for a heartbreak, my friend. You have to be okay with the growing and the decreasing, the growing and the decreasing. Like, that's kind of what makes it fun too. It's just kind of like a bulk and a cut. Once
you see it like that, at least, right? But that, that takes some experience to get to that point, because I think it's a very important point, right? You had an amazing start, right? But it's still not necessarily just a linear curve that keeps going, right? It might be a saw-shaped curve, that's still going up, but it'll have its peaks and it'll have its downs. Yeah. Like you mentioned, like training and everything else.
Yeah, you really have to get kind of like really structured with how you do things, because the only really big downfall for having months that go down, it sometimes can be your assistant coaches. And so I have a lot of roles like with my assistant coaches that's not just earnings coming from clients. It kind of comes with other things, to where if we do have a month that's a little bit down, and let's just say someone that's used to working with like 100 clients is maybe working with now 80 clients, they're not going to financially be as hit, because there's a little bit more of a balance within like what it is all that they do.
So balancing different tasks within the business. I think that's a pretty confident point of view that you have, what you said before. Yeah. I'd say, I'm focusing on the right things, and that makes me happy. If I'll shift the question then a little bit to something else. When you say, well, when you look forward, then what are things that you're actually genuinely excited about in the future?
Honestly, for just business or just in general?
Business in your life. Curious about that.
I'm ready to start my family. I'm ready to go into that like next chapter myself. I also am excited to see how much that's going to drastically change like my business, because when you go from not being a mother at all to being a mother, like your clients are going to resonate with you very differently. And so I work with so many different mothers. So I'm kind of excited to see how, when I step into that next chapter, how my business as well will go into another chapter too, from the different programs that we can include in it, or different focuses, or like even an increase in different clients coming in. So that's super exciting. But yeah, I want to do more podcasts, to be honest. So this is actually really awesome.
We'll bring you back as well.
Yeah, please. I would love to honestly further go into, and really passionate about like retention for coaches. So even kind of brainstorming a little bit on something there, but just honestly a lot of different things. I would like to do more motivational like speaking. being involved with my community, like really stepping in and helping out in areas of, things that people in need. So there's been a lot that has been on my heart lately this year. But yeah, being just more involved, creating more of an impact within my business, but even outside of it, in person. And I think that that's within your community of where I live. I think that's so big.
Mm-hmm. And saying yes, it seems, right? Because if I can go back to the start, not being able to speak till the age of 5, struggling with speaking and dyslexia all the way through primary school, and now sitting in a situation saying, I want to do more public speaking.
Yeah.
I want to inspire others. That's quite a shift.
That's insane.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It really is crazy because, you go from this one person that's like really terrified to speak, right? Because you might say something wrong or it doesn't come out right. Luckily, after struggling with it for so long, I pretty much know the words that I can and can't say.
You can
so
kind of
I'm able to
navigate
dodge around it. But it is crazy looking back at that. But you want to know what's really insane is that I know full-heartedly, like, I would not be this person that I am now today if it wasn't for my health journey. And it's not I think a lot of times when you see it from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, that person became more confident, through their weight loss journey. That's why they're saying yes. And it's like, no, because for me, I was always confident. At my heaviest, I was actually probably still today, maybe the most confident in myself. To be honest, she was unhinged. Okay, that was next level. There was not a stage I was not going to get on and make sure everyone saw Mare.
Amazing, amazing.
But yeah, I think it just came from a place of like, I don't know. Yeah, I think I actually lost my track of.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We'll go on. On another note, we spoke a bit about the future and what it entails for you. So I'm curious about your perspective on what do you see as some of the big macro trends that'll affect online coaching or the way that you'll run your business?
Oh, you definitely have AI. And then, of course, the peptides, GLP-1s and so forth. So that's definitely, things are changing. And you got to just go with the changes. I don't know why. What keeps coming to my mind is that my dad, his first business he's ever owned, he's actually owned multiple, was a paper company. And this was when paper and printing was like, insane. So it was a crazy successful business, but now it's kind of like.
Yeah, we don't even have the big printer room, with the paper cutter and all that. It's just gone.
You're talking about this like OG who had like a big business in Dallas and downtown Dallas, and he had a yacht and everything at one point. Anyways, so that's a whole different story. But, things changed and he kind of just completely stepped out of it. And I'm like, no, you could have maybe got creative, could have done this. So I think with online coaching, no matter what the changes are, and no matter what line of business, there's going to be some changes that challenge you. And you either got to go with it or get creative to, find ways. But again, that's where connecting your word to not the numbers matters. Because I think when there are shifts like this that's going on, your business is going to feel it. And if you take that defeat and you're like, oh, this just isn't going to work anymore. My business is done for because of AI, because of this, because of that. Like, it doesn't matter what business you're going to be in. You're always going to have a wall that you hit and that happens. So you really got to step out of the box and get creative and boss it out and be like, all right, let me find a new way. Let me maybe reframe, maybe like bring something in that, makes my business like more special, more, that stands out. I've even thought about bringing on technically a functional medicine doctor into my program because I work with so many people who do struggle with internal health issues. Whether that be in their gut and hormones. And I'm like, boom, that's one source. And then, of course, with Lenus care, there's so many different avenues and outlets that Lenus really, I feel like, helps us do because the software is so top notch, but I just feel like it gives us the freedom to kind of make our program whatever we want it to be. It can be really unique if you look at all the features and everything. So I've thought about just having some fun with it.
Seeing it as opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of threats. Because I think that's such an important perspective, right? Because these large trends are affecting every business.
Yeah.
Right? And particularly in the health, and also in the health space, of course.
Yeah.
So you can either see them as obstacles, as challenges, or you can see them as things that you can leverage to create even more change and impact. I mean, you mentioned weight loss medicine and peptides and coaching. I mean, there's also some pretty strong intersections between the two. I'm sure you also have many clients who are already on this type of medication that you already help, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like if you are GLP-1s, I feel like when you really understand a medication, you understand that they can be really life-changing for people, but they're life-changing in a sense of like making sure that you have the right guidance. And if you're doing all the right things to ensure that we're not kind of putting ourselves in a bigger hole, right? Losing muscle mass, wrecking our hormones even more, relying on the medication to balance out our blood sugar, but still eating like crap. That's really going to backfire. I mean, my dad, he's going to hate me for telling this story, but he's diabetic and he did Ozempic. And he lost like 70 pounds, but he didn't change his eating, wasn't moving or anything. And as soon as he got off of it, of course, he struggled with rapid weight gain. And that's not good for a diabetic. And so that's why coaching and using medication go hand in hand. And why I have so many clients that, you know, are kind of starting to come into the program. You know, obviously GLP-1s are getting more, you know, popular. They're coming in and already on the medication or thinking about it. And we just really got to go deeper into explaining like, hey, we got to focus on this and this and this. And do you understand why this medication is making you feel better, or why you're not struggling with, you know, food noise, or why your body isn't constantly like inflamed right now and handling, you know, these like amount of sugar. Maybe if you eat a lot of sugar one day, is handling it a little bit better than the norm or whatever. So there's a lot of different things to it. But yeah, just again, going with the flow and not being like so stubborn in your ways.
Makes sense. We were talking about the start of your journey in 1999 and beyond, right? Where it was a lot of cardio, very restrictive dieting. And now you're communicating with so many people, both on your social media and as clients. What do you see, or from your perspective, what have people learned more of, or what have they gotten better at understanding within health, wellness, and fitness compared to then?
Honestly, I think the biggest shifts that I've personally seen with people is that women are not as scared to eat carbs now. Like, I think everyone's starting to understand through kind of just like this huge impact, especially with so many women coaches out there too. And even male coaches like James, I think, was here the other day. He coaches so many women. And of course, he's like really big in hormones and stuff too. But like in general, I feel like now there's just more positivity around like fuel your body, eat carbs, like don't shy away from them, and weight train, like build muscle. And so now it's like these people are more comfortable and they're not so hesitant. There's still this fear. You still get that, I'm scared I'm going to get bulky, or I'm scared, you know, my body's not responding because of the carbs. Because as soon as they feel like they're not seeing the results they want to see, it always comes down to, it's because I'm eating the carbs, it's because I'm eating too much, or it's because I'm lifting weights. I'm like, no, it's because we're not consistent and we're kind of, you know, we're not able to see the results yet. And so it's just pushing people to continue to trust in like, hey, this does work. Trust me on that. But that's the best part about losing 120 pounds is like people will trust you on that. They're going to be like, and so some of these coaches, I feel for y'all sometimes who've always been really, really fit, because that's one leverage I always pull up with a client. It's like, girl, I lost 120 pounds. I need you to keep trusting me on this. Do you think that my losing weight and lifting weights and never, you know, doing cardio made me bulky at the end of the day? They're like, no. And I'm like, and I ended with way more muscle at the end of my journey than I started.
Exactly.
And they're like, that's just crazy how your frame changed and everything. So it helps me like a lot with people to trust the process, because I go in there and I'm pretty rough with them. I'm like, you got to get out of that mindset. That is like literally so old thinking. But what breaks my heart the most as a coach is coaching women who are in their like 60s, 70s, who have lived in this like diet cultured mindset that they have been taught and have had to go their entire life living in it. Like, it was really difficult for me to live in that mindset up until I was, you know, early 20s. I couldn't imagine going, you know, whole 60, 70 years doing that.
Decade over decade, right?
And how much it's probably had a massive impact on their like health, mental health, physical health, emotional health, especially women who are like when they go into premenopausal or menopausal, thinking about like years on years on years of like chronically under eating, not eating enough protein, doing high intensity like training and never, just so much muscle mass coming off, bone. Like my mom, she actually is struggling with the amount of bone mass that she has. And it's just not a good thing. Like you don't want to find yourself in your 60s, 70s at a place where it's like your bone mass is not in a good spot and you don't have very much muscle mass and your metabolism is shot. It's just rough. So I am really excited. I'm just super happy that I pretty much love working with women in this area and educating them on it because it's something I know that's drastically going to change their life when they get there.
And clearly you already have. You have just about 6,000 women who you'll make sure won't end in that situation, whose lives you've changed and who have been very happy with the product that you've delivered and the impact that you've had. Meredith, it's been a pleasure having you here on the podcast. Thank you for now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Welcome.
I don't know if I trust you with the remote.
I've got it in my pocket. I might speed it up every now and then, depending on what you say. But Mary, welcome to the treadmills.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
A little section there.
I have heels on.
You walk them well. Little walk and talk. And what we're going to do is go through a little overrated, underrated section. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of things. Then I want you to say whether they're overrated or underrated.
Okay.
All right.
Wait. Overrated means that they're getting too much of applause, right?
Exactly.
But it's not
really legit.
Okay.
And underrated, you think it should have more of
more
applause.
of a hype.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
All right. So what we're going to do is an overrated, underrated in terms of what I tell you has an impact on people's health, happiness, and longevity.
Ooh.
Okay. So the first one, cardio for weight loss.
Overrated.
Why?
Just because weight training is more important. If you spend more time there instead of running, it will actually be more beneficial, but it also can be overdone. That can actually wreck your hormones and put more stress on a body that might already be more already stressed.
All right. So you might have said this one, but we'll do the inverse then. Strength training for weight loss.
Well, which one would that be? Because it's that's perfect. That's what would I pick then?
But do you think it's underrated?
Oh, underrated.
Or overrated?
Oh, yeah. Underrated. I feel like people, especially for women, it's not hyped up enough, especially when you're in a place to where celebrities are the really, 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 really skinny. They're probably not leaning towards weight training right now. They're actually kind of probably losing muscle mass to make that kind of body work for them. So
you mentioned as part of your journey getting measurements, right? Like fat percent measurements. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Yeah, how so?
Yeah. Because not enough people do it. Way too many times they're just trusting the scale is going to give them the full picture. So it's no, the scale weight does not matter. Some of my best months when I was losing 120 pounds was when my scale did not change at all. Actually, some months it increased.
Gotcha.
But I lost 3-4% of body fat.
Because you were gaining muscle mass.
Yes.
All right. Last one, rest and recovery.
Underrated. People are not doing it enough. Yeah.
Training too much and not focusing on the actual rest part?
Yes. Your rest is just as important. Honestly, and the older you get, sometimes the more rest you need. I don't weight train 6 days a week like I used to. I actually weight train now 4 days a week.
Okay, so finding minimum effective dose, I guess, something like that.
Yes.
All right, we're going to switch things up a bit. Tell me something that you are hilariously bad at.
Bad at?
Yeah.
Running?
Running?
Yeah, I'm really bad at that.
Well, you and me both. That's fine.
Yeah, that's probably a big reason why I'm weight training, because I suck at running.
Makes sense. Find your passion.
Yeah.
What about, do you have a secret talent that no one knows about?
Secret talent. You know what? No.
Yeah, just being you.
Yeah.
Just being you is the talent, potentially. All right, so are there any health, fitness, wellness trends that you, let's say, secretly admire right now or kind of into?
Trends. Pilates. I love Pilates.
Oh, have you been going to Pilates?
Oh, yeah. Hit me some Pilates. Yeah. A couple times a week, maybe 3 times.
All right. How about some health and fitness trends that are going on now that you disagree with?
Oh, yeah. The chronically under eating and overtraining. doing anything to be as skinny as you possibly can, that's not the vibe.
That seems to be kind of coming back now these days.
Yes, it always comes back. And it's like, if it really comes from the celebrities. Anytime the celebrities are doing it, then everyone's like, oh, yeah, we should do it. I'm like, come on. Are we still going to like keep falling into that?
Well, let's hope people listen to your advice and focus on the things that really matter. Thanks, Mer, for your time on the treadmill.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't fall.